you, sir. Thank you. And we're rolling. Okay, let me grab my.
Do I look in that?
Okay, right here, right straight on.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna. I can edit all this.
Oh, nice.
Dude, the thing is that you are so high vibe.
Oh, thank you.
And I feel like I'm sad for our country because we need more people like you and people like you under attack. They demonize homeschool people, anybody who believes in Jesus Christ. And I grew up Baptist Christian. I would say I'm agnostic now. So I mean, me and like I said, we're not going to have me and you are not going to have children and all that. I know that, and I know that. But I see you, and I'm like, what a wonderful essence. You know, I don't care about your outer shell and your physical. I'm talking about your essence, your life force. I see it as a person, and I'm just like, what a beautiful soul.
Oh, you're very
and
kind.
then it's
Thank
true.
you.
I feel like you already know that. I think you already know. Not that you think that but like you already know that about yourself. You're such a rare, high vibe person, and then it's a beautiful thing to witness. Just your energy wave.
Thank you.
What would you like to tell the audience about freedom, about economic, civil liberties that maybe you've never had a chance to tell the world before?
Oh, do you want me to take this?
Yeah.
Okay. So it is so important that we preserve our freedoms because they are trying to be stripped from us left and right. And like we were talking about before, so much of it is our unconscious programming. What we see on TV, the advertisements, the way we think things have to be in this country, what we slowly adopt as the norm. And I would just say, like, pay so much attention to the programming that's out there because it's all programming. And if you want a country that's left for our children and for our grandchildren to be able to enjoy some of the freedoms that you enjoyed as a child, then then be careful what you perceive as the norm and what you teach your children. Oh, well, we have to do this now, and this is a new rule, so we have to do this. And it's just coming and creeping up on us bit by bit by bit. And a lot of it has to do with people just not being informed and not getting out there and learning about who's in office, learning about who's running for office, what they stand for, not showing up to the city meetings. Go to your meetings and find out about who is running. Right. And because they're the ones that are going to be putting these things into play. And, so many people, I'm surprised at how many people are surprised when laws get passed. And I'll say, well, did you learn about the candidates? Right. Did you go out and vote even? And it's a privilege that we get to exercise our free rights to be able to go out and vote. And so teach your kids that it's not only a responsibility, but it is a privilege, and one that not everyone has in this world. And so pay attention to the programming, pay attention to what you accept as normal, and then also get out there and learn about your candidates and talk to them. Show up at the meetings and have one-on-one conversations with them and ask them questions. So, yeah.
Thank you. What is your philosophy on government and freedom, and what would you in a minute or less, what would you love to see, whether it was the state of Utah, whether it was the United States government, or the new country that's going to have to be formed once the government dissolves because it's corrupt and tyrannical? What would you like to see? Give me outline your 2 or 3 principles, or if you have a philosophy, if you have that question already answered in your head.
Yeah, I would love for us to get back to the fundamentals of Christian beliefs in this country. I would love to get back to, just people realizing how important prayers are in schools and other places, and just the basic fundamental Christian principles that our nation was founded on. Like, I think that if you go back to what this nation was founded on and the biblical principles that those individuals lived throughout their own lives, then I feel like this nation could not fall if we did that. But I feel like that because we have strayed so far from that, then almost anything goes. Almost anything's accepted. And and nothing is left in check. There's nothing there's no accountability. So I would love for us to get back to especially our kids taking pride in where they live and appreciating it and being taught with the foundation of Christian principles, that the same ones that our forefathers founded this nation on.
That's awesome. I appreciate your. Let me grab my water real quick. You didn't drink any of your water, by the way.
Oh, I sipped it when you left for a second.
I'll see it on the video.
So, yeah.
Behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. Okay. Now, let me see. Okay. Let me grab my phone because I have a question that I want to ask you, but I want to do it from this angle. So this is something different. See, I'm doing it a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Okay. What's running marathons sort of taught you about yourself or something that you've learned?
So, just to be fair, I've only done a half marathon.
So
So, marathon is a goal, but the half marathons, so they have taught me that we can do so much more than we think we're capable of. And it's just really one step at a time. Like when you think about running even just a half marathon or a 5K or a 10K, if you've never done one before, or even a mile, that may seem really daunting. And it's just one step at a time. It's just taught me that we are just so much more capable than what we think we can do. And it's just back to the brain trying to find that path of least resistance, right? And just trying to be comfortable and to just stay in that comfort. But when we push ourselves, when we strengthen that part of our brain that just gets stronger and bigger when we do hard things,
Right.
it just feels amazing when you're done. And it's also taught me that, doing something hard doesn't have to feel good. It's okay if it doesn't just totally feel comfortable and just feel amazing in the moment. And there's ways, like, you can tell yourself as you're doing it, okay, this is going to pay off. This is going to feel amazing when I'm done. This is just going to be so worth it. But the real reward comes after. It's just like the cold plunge.
Right.
And that heightened dopamine hit that you get for hours after.
Right.
And it really is worth it. So, but it's just taught me that we're so much stronger than we think we are.
Let me go back to my ways. Okay. What? You're supporting me in my libertarian candidacy.
Yes. You have that on camera now.
And what about like free market economics, free trade, do you value the most?
We're going to have to skip this because free market and free trade, like, what do you mean?
Okay, like capitalism, like 100%, like the free market being like not the government doing it, like there's like businesses voluntarily cooperating with each other, offering goods
Oh.
and services.
Oh, yeah, because it goes back to that agency. Because really, like, that's the American dream, is to be able to make your business and to be able to trade and buy and sell as you want to. And then you can take it as far as you can. And it goes back to that agency. Like, you are the creator at that point. And it's not someone saying, okay, it has to be this way or it has to be that way, or you can only go this far, and then you have to give your surplus to something else, whether you want to or not. It's really the American dream. That's what I value, is the agency in it, and that we can be the ultimate creators in that.
So cool. And I would say like central planning doesn't work. The reason that we're in war in Iran is because 47 years ago We meddled. We overthrew the Shah of Iran. We installed the Ayatollah. We didn't like that. 3 months ago, we bombed and killed the Ayatollah that was existing. Now we have a harder liner person in Iran because we cannot centrally plan. People sitting around a table trying to dictate countries and leadership or an economy fails every single time. And we're in a destructive path right now, which has no clear end in sight, and it's just an unfortunate situation, and central planning has never worked. People have to be free to voluntarily cooperate. When goods don't cross borders, guns will. The best thing we could do for foreign policies in Iran is to trade with them, let foreign capital go into there. Let's unite each other and voluntarily cooperate, and that's how you grow.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. It's uniting in what we want to do, as far as finding our own solutions and expression of our own ideas. And yeah, that's true entrepreneurship. It like I said before, it's the American dream.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me look at this real quick. Is there anything you'd like to say while I look at your questions? Anything you want to tell the world? Anything you want to talk about? Like, is there any little hidden gem that you've been holding back? Anything that you know in your heart to be true that you want to share with?
I just would love to tell anybody out there that if they're wondering if they can do it or not, whatever that thing is, like, you can. Especially if it's something that brings good into the world, if it's something that helps you grow in a really effective way as an individual. Like, think about the programming that you've had as a child, and some of it was really effective and some of it was really ineffective because we were just getting our needs met. We were learning how to get love and connection from people. We were learning how to get significance. We were learning, Tony Robbins talks about the 6 human needs. And when we're younger, we learn how to get those needs met by performance. And we don't realize we're doing this, and our parents don't realize that they're programming us. They're doing the best they can, and I'm sure that they were kind, loving, and amazing people in what they thought they were doing. And they were amazing people. At least, my parents, they were and are amazing people. But just, question if the things that you thought you were when you were a kid and the ways that you learned how to get your needs met, if they are still serving you as an adult. Because now that you're grown up, you can really decide what you want to think as far as what gets you closer to your goals. And my goal is to be the ultimate of who I was created to be, to fulfill the full measure of my creation when my Father decided to send me here. And so, yeah, don't listen to anything that says that you can't, or that you're not capable, or that you're not worthy, or it's too late, or any of that, because it's just false programming. And it creates certainty in the brain. It creates a story, and the brain loves stories. So just pay attention to the kind of stories you're telling it.
I know, it's so true. The things that we tell ourselves matter a lot more than we think. And even the words that you say in joking or something, be careful, your brain's listening. I never say anything negative about myself because I don't want my brain to believe to like think that's true. It's always like, oh, I'm always evolving. I'm getting better. I can do this. I have a growth mindset, and I love life. I love sharing. I love flowing. Like, life's meant to be tussled with. It's meant to hit you sometimes because it's fun. It's fun to get that contrast, and it's a beautiful thing. And
that's awesome.
Thank you. So let's talk about this. Let me text my next person. What got you into Tony Robbins so much? What was Tony Robbins? How did Tony Robbins come into your life, for lack of a better term, or how did you discover Tony Robbins? And tell me a couple things that you've learned from Tony.
Yeah, when I was 18, then my cousin and I would get up at 5 a.m, and she would run to my house and we would listen to Tony Robbins tapes. And I remember the first time I heard Tony Robbins, and I was just like, wow, just I just thought everything he was saying was just awesome because I'd never heard anything like that before. Just all this, talk of being limitless and awakening the giant within and all of that. And that really set me on a path, like a lifelong path of, I guess you could call it the self help world. But recently it's been more, and that's been incredible. Like that, as you know, like diving into some of those books and listening to now the podcasts and everything is incredible. And recently it's turned more into neuroscience for me and understanding how the brain works so that you understand what's going on when you have those limiting beliefs. You understand at a scientific level.
Yeah.
So that, like I said before, as soon as you start feeling something that you don't like to feel, because our feelings are our experiences, right? And so when you start feeling something that you don't like to feel, you can ask yourself, okay, what is my brain doing? What need is my brain trying to meet right now? Where did the deficit come from? Is it something that I decided I was going to believe about myself, or is it something that I learned in my childhood? Not that anyone purposely, taught you anything to make you feel bad about yourself, but is it something that I learned as a child in order to get my needs met? And so, yeah, the first time I heard Tony Robbins, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. And then I actually got to see him live a couple of years ago, and that was a dream come true. But yeah, I love how he talks about the 6 human needs, because you can ask yourself, okay, so if I'm having a limited belief, or a limiting belief, or if I'm feeling something that I don't like to feel, or if I'm upset, or if I, want to tell this person off, or whatever, what need am I trying to get met right now? And you can always trace it back to one of those 6 human needs, and then say, okay, where did I feel a deficit in that need? And how can I get it? How can I get that need met in a way that is effective, in a way that's healthy, in a way that gets me closer to what I actually want, instead of something that causes damage?
Right. No, that's crazy. That's great. That's great. Yeah, Tony's just such an amazing person. Such a great brain, and I think he's helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
And would you describe yourself? Are you? Let's see. What's something we can offer that's about? You're just so remarkable. I can't believe you had 9 kids.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
I've, we're different. We're different. We obviously are different, but I'm totally in love with you. So we can never hang out. But
That's funny.
but you have, because you have such a great energy, spirit,
You're
brain.
so kind.
Let's see. Um, what is what do you think? I was trying to think of like self development, but also I want to do something like for freedom too. Because okay, tell us about January 6th. You tell us what you want to talk about, but tell us about January 6th. What's something maybe you learned? What's something that you'll go to your grave knowing about? You're obviously at January 6th up at the Capitol, and
Yeah, that was a phenomenal experience, and I'm so grateful that I was there. Um, so I had been to 2 rallies previous at the Capitol, and I went to one in November, which was amazing. It would just, and then I went to one in December, but both of those were just like very peaceful, and it just opened my eyes to how many patriots there really are in this country. Because I remember coming up off of the metro up to Freedom Mall, and there were just thousands, tens of thousands of people with the American flag just all marching together, and it was so peaceful, and it was just like I have never had a feeling like that before in my life as far as patriotism goes. And then the one in December was similar to that, but then Antifa started coming around and causing some problems, and so it was a little bit less of a peaceful environment than what November was. But then in January, so January 6th, it was very interesting. There was a lot about that day that I have learned from. So we checked the weather flying out of Salt Lake. We checked it for days before. It was going to be, just overcast in the 40s. And so we packed accordingly. And when I say we, I had a few friends from around the country that I was meeting there. And I also went with my good friend that lives down in St. George, and she flew up to go with me. And we started out that morning and went at like 5 in the morning because we were going to go over to where the president was speaking. And so we went there, and it just got really cold really fast. In fact, we were just shivering. It was probably I don't know what the temperature was, but it was probably below freezing. And they were playing just such the most random music there. It was not patriotic at all, and the feeling there was just very dark. And it was also overcast and just freezing. And there were a couple of medical emergencies that happened, like people had passed out and like someone had a heart attack or something, but it was very peaceful in that emergency to where when they removed the fence, then me and everyone that I was there, we just stepped aside and let the emergency personnel take care of the person, bring him out. They put the fence back. So after several hours of standing there and listening to some speakers, listening to the president speak, then we decided that we were going to march to the Capitol because the president said, no, march to the Capitol, but be peaceful and make your voice heard, because we thought that there had been some involvement with the election that was not fair. And so we were marching to the Capitol, and it took us about 45 minutes from where we were at to march to the Capitol. But the closer we got, we were just in such shock of what we were seeing. And it soon became just total chaos. And I would say, me and the people that we were with, we estimated from what we saw that there was probably about 3 million people there. Wow. And the news said, of course, there's only hundreds or thousands of people. And so the closer we got to the Capitol, we just saw a lot of groups of people just really trying to rile people up and saying, get there, and you should be mad. This is your country they're taking, and just really trying to stir up the crowd and stir them to anger. And we got closer to the Capitol. I just remember I was standing there with my friends, and somebody pulled my arm up over the gate, and next thing I knew, I was on the Capitol stairs, and I had kind of lost the group of people that I was with. The police were letting off tear gas. My friend got a cut in her eye from the tear gas, and it was just absolute chaos. Just people shouting, and the crowd was it was so thick that you really couldn't even hardly move an inch. And my friend and I, finally I found her, and I said, let's go over to the other side of the Capitol because it is just so crowded here. Like, we thought we were going to get trampled. Plus, like, there was just so much energy and people just very upset and yelling things, and they had the megaphones. And so we went over to the other side and actually heard the gunshots where Allie Babbitt was shot, and at that point we said, we don't want to be here. Let's leave. This is just too much. And it was completely opposite from the first rally that we had been to. But one thing that I did learn, so I know that you asked the question, what did I learn, is when we got back to our hotel and Biden was on the news and he was calling us domestic terrorists. That was the most disheartening thing, one of the most disheartening things I had ever experienced in my life, because we left our families, we left our kids, we flew out there. We were trying to support patriotism. We weren't just trying to support one president or one man. We were supporting the cause of patriotism. And then to be called domestic terrorists and then to be questioned by the FBI. Some of the friends that I was with were questioned. We heard of several being arrested and put into isolation, and it was just so disheartening. And it taught me that what you see on the news is so inaccurate from real life, because we saw so much Antifa and we saw so many people causing or trying to get the crowd upset when the Patriots were extremely peaceful. They didn't want violence at all. And so it just opened my world to the black and white of reality versus the media.
And we can all agree Donald Trump has been a disaster in his second term. And between the war, the tariffs, his corrupt Justice Department that he settled an IRS lawsuit with himself, dude's going to be in jail. He's a war criminal. I hate to be honest with you. Donald Trump,
Very disappointing.
you're going to jail. You are awesome. Let's do a thing. I'm just going to do where I'm going to say, hello, I'm here with my friend. How do I say, I have struggled with your name. I struggle with it. I know I have it on my phone, but how do you want me to pronounce it exactly?
So I go by LV most of the time.
LV?
Yeah. So it's Elvera.
Elvera.
But
LV.
it's kind of weird even to hear that, because it's just always been LV.
Okay.
So that's just what everyone calls me. So
Hello, everybody. I'm here with my friend LV, such a high vibration individual, and I've learned so much. You're an awesome person.
Oh, you too. Thank you.
And is there anything you want to share with the world?
It's just life is amazing. Life is wonderful, and it's what you make it, and we have the opportunity to do anything.
Hope you're doing well. Peace. That's it.
Good job.
You're awesome. You're
You
awesome.
too.
You have
Thank
such a high
you.
vibration. I'll
Thank
never.
you, Taylor. You too.
Yes, we can. We'll do another podcast at some point.
All right. Thank you. And you have another one. What's your next? What
My
is your
friend,
next
my
guest
friend,
about?
It's about